This is coffee number 5. I'm your host, Lara Schmoisman. Thank you, everyone, to be back in coffee number 5 today. I hope you have enough coffee with you because I feel that you're going to need all that caffeine to have this call that we're going to have right now. Is this talk with Jenny Chang. Did I say it right?
You said it perfectly.
Okay, wonderful. Jenny is an amazing trader of all sorts. I mean, I don't know how to say it. I mean, she does so much, but something that I'm impressed with and is her party planning. And being a party planner, I mean, I'm a former producer, I do marketing, but doing an event is a whole different level. And anyone can have an event, anyone can invite a few friends and hang out, but have a successful event is completely different. So welcome, Jenny.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful.
So, okay, first of all, give me a little backstory. How did you get in this event planning? Because between you and I, we need to be a little crazy to do what we do.
No, absolutely. You got to definitely have a chaotic mind and chaotic energy.
Absolutely.
So I actually was 19 when I started my event planning firm, Rocknevents. And it's based out of Los Angeles. And I essentially just started this company out of a very strong passion for working with people, working in love, and working in parties, right? And so I decided, I was like, I kind of had no experience in this industry or whatnot. And I decided, I was like, I'm just going to basically start this company. But it all happened because I was being rejected by so many event planning firms. Like everyone was rejecting my resumes. No one was really giving me an opportunity to exercise my internship ability or anything like that. So I decided, well, I'm just going to start this company on my own. So I did. And now, I'm so ultimately grateful for this company because it's expanded to 4 other companies that I've started because of Rocknevents, all within the experiential industry. And obviously, it's just been so crazy lately, but it's one of the funnest industries that anyone could really be in. High pressure, but it's one of the most rewarding. And I'm proud to say that I'm now to this point where I'm an experiential director and I get to really kind of orchestrate so many of these different vibrations of events, all while being able to expand my event firm to as many states as possible. So,
I mean, it's so much work to do an event. So this is what we're gonna, I love the small talk about doing chit chat about the things and exchange tips because there's so many things. The first thing I think you need for an event besides a date is a list.
I think one of the first important things when starting an event is to understand, why we're having this event, right? What is the mission? What are we trying to create? What are we trying to cause? What's the cause and effect? Being able to produce such a vibration. A lot of our clients are anywhere from corporate events to social events, and everyone has this one mission, right? That they want to be able to volumize because of that experience. And so it's obviously, getting to the logistics, but I would agree with you. I think one of the most important things as you're starting is, attach the reason and attach the mission of the event to the logistics, right?
How important is to have a theme?
I think it is very important. I want to say that it's at least 30%, right? Whether it's a theme or whether it's, bringing together the company culture, right? Or bringing a brand to life.
Yeah.
That could be a theme in itself. But themes are important because you are basically creating an experience out of that theme, right? So we're not just putting Halloween ghost stickers on cups, right? We're actually trying to create a haunted experience and bring that to life. So I think that when you have a theme, it's important as it helps navigate what that experience is going to end up becoming,
Absolutely. To me, having a theme is, well, it's part of the brand, like you said, but it is, what you're planning. If you don't have we call it in marketing, our core beliefs. the core, the experience you want people to have. You're like a virgin canvas, and it's like, where do I start? You have to have something that you can grab and you start creating from there.
Exactly. That's true. And I also feel that it's kind of like this web, it helps kind of navigate the vision of what it is that's going to be brought to life.
And what about the budget? How important is to have a budget?
That's a good question. I always say to clients that it's not really the number that I focus on. It's what I do with that number that's going to make a world of a difference, right?
Yeah, but you need to know what you're working with.
You definitely have to have a good range of what it is that we're working with. But if you work with an event designer or a producer, you're essentially hiring someone to be able to create one of the greatest visions with any budget given, right? So
absolutely, but you need to know what you're counting with. The worst thing you can do is to tell the people, oh, I can do all this. And they say, well, but I cannot pay for that. So.
Exactly. So whenever we're discussing budgeting with clients in the event field, I always talk to people and I say, all right, so what is the ballpark, and then what I always kind of reassure them of is whether that ballpark is realistic for what that mission is going to be ultimately, or even vision specifically. So
absolutely. And okay, so now that we have a budget, a list, a theme, how we start? Where do we start?
We start with the venue. We start with the destination, right?
Okay.
So we need to have the foundation of what every event is going to be built upon, right?
Okay.
So the first phase that I always walk my clients through is finding the right space for their event. And of course, right, when you get the space, you get the dates, which is the most important thing, right?
Yeah.
When it's all going to happen.
So. Yeah, dates are important, and also depends of course, you're not going to have a beach theme outdoor in the middle of the winter in Boston.
Agreed. Exactly. Yeah, right. So it's one of those things where it's like we always think about that destination, what are we building everything around? Going back to talking about budgets, you spending, investing in your budget, like venue specifically attached to food and beverage is always going to be about 40%, 40 to 60% of your overall budget. So that's the number one spot. That's the number one thing that we start with.
Something that I found really important planning events is transportation. How people are going to buy parking. That makes the whole experience also.
Of course. And it shows how much the host cares about the comfort, the experience of all the attendees. So transportation is so important, but we are very fortunate to be living in this generation of experiences and events because there's so many different types of transportation types and companies and new transportation, innovations that are really helping this process, be a lot more timeless.
For example, I had a party, it was the last end of the year party before pandemia, and it was a great spot that a company that I was invited to send it. But they were, first of all, I had to park in another lot, and then I had to get a bus to take me to the lot. That was annoying already because I went to my husband and I want to leave earlier. So then so what I do, then it was really far from where everyone lived. It was like in a hill, and also was an event venue that there were like 20 other parties at the same. So you will go to a bathroom, but there will be people from other party. It's like, what party you are from? And so you cannot do that chit chat or, who do you know? How do you get here? How do you know? I mean, because that's a small talk that you do at the party. You are like in this huge line of people that you don't know, and just the experience wasn't right. And I would have appreciated a smaller place, a restaurant. You need to know who your crowd is.
Absolutely. You need to know your crowd. You need to know exactly who you are, throwing this for. And actually, lack of transportation and logistics planning will actually be the result as to whether you're going to have more attendees the next time you throw an event or not, right?
I mean, there are different kind of parties. You have the business parties that you have to do it with the target audience that you want prospective buyers or whatever. But when you have also a social event, you need to understand these are family, friends, and there are many different age groups. You need to accommodate everyone. I always say that planning bar mitzvahs are so much harder than planning a wedding, because in wedding, except a few like little kids that they are the sister or brother of the bride of the groom, that's it. In a bar mitzvah, you have little kids, middle kids, the teenagers that they don't want to do absolutely anything, but they were forced to be there. Then you have the parents' age, and then you have the grandparents' age. That was really, really challenging.
Yeah. No, you know what? That's a really good perspective. That's a very good perspective. That's very true as well. I agree. Nowadays, you go to a wedding and they're like, no kids. Now it's like,
and you know what? It's make it much easier because okay, let's gonna be talking about this now. Let's talk about seating assignment.
Okay, let's do it.
That's, I think, the worst. First to create them, but then you have the last minute people who cancel or I come in actually with another +1. Because you know what happened to in my son's bar mitzvah? Someone send us the RSVP card with his that he was coming with a daughter, a teenager daughter. So the teenager daughter went to the teenager kids, and this older person went with adults. What happened? He showed up with a girlfriend instead of the daughter.
Oh, come on. That's just
seriously.
That's just disrespectful.
I was able to pull it off because being me, I refuse to have a party planner or even a party assistant the day off. But I had to switch it up. So glad. Can you imagine the poor woman sitting with the teenagers?
No, that's a little weird. Yeah. Did you ever confront him?
No. But it was that.
Yeah.
And you know what? So what do you suggest about planning assignments? How do you plan?
You know, funny enough, so my company doesn't really, it's so rare when we're doing seating arrangements because we're not throwing events for ourselves, but we're always the ones telling our clients how to do it. I think the best tip is just, you got to be able to compartmentalize very well, like you really have to know, like you said earlier, you have to know the people that you're inviting. You have to know who your target is, right? Whether it's for a wedding, whether it's for a bar mitzvah, whether it's for a corporate event, you got to know who you're inviting. And so you want to be able to group people kind of just by category, right? Specifically, I would honestly, if I were to do it myself, it would be based on like who I would want to like have network together, but also like creating a familiarity.
Yeah, create connections that they will work.
Right. But definitely don't do it by age. I think people get a little weird when like they go to a table.
But there are other considerations. Like, for example, you want to put people that maybe they are more, that they don't want to be close to the dance floor.
That, of course, location of seating is important.
It's really important.
In terms of like, I feel like sometimes when you just group everyone at the same age, unless that's like literally the tribe, that's like literally the group. I think it kind of gets a little bit, some people get offended by that nowadays.
Maybe, yeah. I mean, people get offended so easily. They can get offended. Oh, you put me too far from this. You put me with that one on the table, but I thought I'm closer to you than this other person that it was with me. It's difficult enough.
I agree.
So in my second son's bar mitzvah, you know what I did? No sittings. I just did the lounge and some tables.
And that's brilliant.
Just people eat and mingle.
Sometimes it's better to keep a very casual setting like that. So the event is just constantly flowing. People are moving around,
Yeah. And also something that I found very interesting doing events is like maybe having in the middle of the event, there is putting something like a show, a magic show, or a moment that people can slow down for a bit.
I absolutely agree.
Okay, and the other thing are movie montage. I mean, I know everyone wants to have that, but people, please don't make it 30 minutes long. 30 minutes is a lot. I know you love every picture of your life. You love every picture. That's the time that you guys been together in a wedding or your kid, but 30 minutes is too long.
Right. And I feel like nowadays it's like, it's something that could just go on in the background. Like if that were to happen just as like like as part of a cocktail experience, it's kind of nice to just like for the people that want to pause and really appreciate it. But like to make it a whole like theatrical event, it's not as timeless,
No, it's not. It's just
right.
You want someone to live and the party and say, oh, that was a great party.
Exactly. Right.
And people are gonna remember the food,
right,
the drinks, and
right,
then little things there. You do not need to overdo it.
right.
Like, okay, so last thing I'm gonna ask you about this tip:
okay.
party favors.
I'm going to be, I'm not really crazy about party favors. I'm going to be real with you. We don't really promote it as much unless you're making it very creative. You're making it an experience, like let's say that, the favor is basically someone plucking their escort card, and that escort card is like a tarot card, and that it's like, something cool, like, and then they get to take that home and it has their name on it. That's, like, but to do the whole like mint.
I'm exactly the same as you. I agree with you. Like my son's bar mitzvah, and I go out to this experience because I did the whole thing, and I wanted an experience for people. And for my kid, he loves books. What I did, I went and I bought used books, and all the table, the center pieces were used books. And I got like really old books. Anyone can take the books home.
Oh, that's nice. Kind of like a free-for-all. I like that.
Yeah, and the seating arrangements, like they're bookmarks.
Oh, okay. That's cute. I really like that.
You can be creative, make it affordable. And I mean, and taking a solid book, something real, is taking something valuable home. And I mean, it really warmed my heart seeing all these little kids taking books home.
Yeah. I know. And what I love about that is that you took something that your son loves and you're able to expand that to everyone that's there. And for a lot of the people that don't know your son the way that you know your son, they got to learn something new about him, Because
what are you going to do? You're going to put flowers really in the centerpiece?
No. You did it. I think you did it right.
That's what I think. Anyone who makes an event needs to make it memorable.
Right. Of course.
So I'm going to ask you for 3 tips.
Okay.
3 giveaways of how to make an event memorable.
Well, that's a great question. The first tip that I'm going to naturally, it's just very intuitive, I want to say is don't bring an image to life, right? Bring the person to life. Bring that person's love of life to life. And I say this because now we live in a world where we have so many inspirations and so many resources like Pinterest and Google and images for days where we can just gain so much inspiration. And I think so many people consciously or subconsciously are just trying to bring that specific image.
I will say don't copy. Like I always say, marketing, don't copy other people's strategy. Make it your own. Of
course, exactly. Yeah. And, whether you're planning a party for yourself or planning a party for other people, you have to get to know that person, right? So like, for example, I would always say this in my wedding plans. I would always say, I don't want to bring like your Pinterest photos to life. What I want to do is get to know the couple so well. I want to know who they were independently and then who did they become interdependently? Who did they become because of each other? And I want to bring that to life.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, because I want people to walk into an event and say, this is so them, I want, if we're choosing a venue that's booking over 100 events a year, I want that one day to feel like it's that couple's home.
And that place became unique just because of them.
Exactly. So that's one of my biggest tips is, ask the right questions that are going to drive, ask the right probing questions that's going to generate the right answers and use those responses to be able to design and create something miraculous. Another tip that I would say is let's say I want to kind of pull something logistically. Don't worry about the creative part until you get the logistics down. I developed I handcrafted this phase. It's a 5-stage event planning journey. And the first 3 phases are all dedicated to logistics. The last 2 revolve design. Everyone kind of, when they think about planning an event, they think it's just like bringing up You know, they think it's just so creative, and it is. But what's the point of getting into creativity if it's not even, you don't even know if it's possible? You know what I mean?
I have something else to ask.
Okay.
Because I know all these people, when you get the list of guests, because creating a list of guests is hard. I know people, they create tiers. To me, it's kind of odd. You have the people that you want to invite. You invite them. If they were in your B list, it's because you didn't want them so much.
Yeah. That's all. This is all very accurate.
So do we really need to fill up the space, or?
And that's the thing. I think that, there's so many different elements, and there's people, like when you're planning an event, like you got to look at the investor. Normally if the investor is the one paying, like parents, let's say, for whatever reason, they're going to want to invite their friends, and those end up being like, primary too, right? Along with like whoever's actually, but the way that I see it is like, yeah, there's a tier A, B, and C list. And actually, C lists don't really make it until like that month of, like they're kind of like fillers, right?
Yes.
Filling the space.
So you know that if you got it a month before, you're a C list.
Yeah. That's why I don't, and I never really get these invitations to last minute. But if I ever get an invitation that's last minute, I'm like, no, I'm good. I'm not gonna go.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a C lister.
Yeah. And then, of course, you got the A list and B list. And I think that B list tends to be a little bit more on like the group of people that are like extensions of the A list, plus ones, or, someone that you haven't talked to in a while, but you would feel bad if you didn't invite them, kind of thing, So it's a real thing, this like tier system. It's a very real thing.
It sure it is. Jenny, thank you so much for having coffee with me today. I love having you here.
This is amazing.
People, you know how to go for more tips and tricks. And we're going to put all the chapter notes with any way to find Jenny. And believe me, there are many ways to find her.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
See you soon.
Thank you for joining us. If you like the show, remember to leave a review. I will really appreciate it. If you want to know more about marketing and myself, follow me on Instagram. My handle is Lara Schmoisman.
It was so good to have you here today. See you next time. Catch you on the flip side. Ciao, ciao.